In a world full of protocols, you're better off finding your own way. My name's Brian. I've been in the health and wellness world now for 20 years. I've been doing pro-metabolic health for close to 10. And today, we're going to talk about how do you find your own path in a bioenergetically friendly way. I'm sure you've noticed there's a lot of diets out there. There's a lot of exercise programs out there. There's a lot of supplement regimens out there. And what we're going to look for in our world is something a little bit different, something a little bit more unique, something a little bit more individualized to you. It's very easy to fall into that trap of dietary rules. So if we think paleo diet, for example, eat like a caveman. If a caveman didn't eat it, you're not going to eat it. It's a very simple set of rules. And when you break that down, there's things like don't eat grains, don't eat refined foods, eat a lot of vegetables, eat a lot of fruit, eat a lot of meat. And theoretically, that's what a caveman may have eaten, although we could easily pull up the records that say most of the foods that were accessible to them, we don't even have now. Like broccoli is only a few hundred years old. So things like that, where there's dietary heuristics. In the keto world, there's the don't eat carbs or keep your carbs under a certain percentage or number, 50 grams or less of carbohydrates. Keep your protein not above this amount, but everything else is fat. There's very simple rules there. In the vegan world, very clear-cut rule. Don't eat it if it's an animal. If it comes from an animal, don't eat it. If it has anything to do with animals, don't eat it. So regardless of the basis for what those rules are, no matter your thoughts on veganism or keto or paleo or any diet, there's rules. And it's very easy to fall into that trap. It's very easy to operate with this guideline and say, okay, this is the bandwidth I can operate within. And if my diet strays outside of that, well, I'm not following that diet anymore. And the reason that works so well for people, not even getting into the health side of things, but the reason that model works so well is because it frees up mental energy. It frees up mental space. It gives you a simple way of saying, do this, don't do that. And in a world of so many choices, so many decisions we have to make all day, every single day, those kind of diets work really well, or I should say last really well for people, because they don't have to think. Now, I'm not calling people stupid. I'm not calling anybody unintelligent. What I'm saying is it frees up mental resources. So a lot of the models of health that we're operating with, a lot of our perceptions of what makes something healthy or unhealthy is about whether or not it fits into our model, our heuristics, our rules and guidelines that we're following. And that's a problem. One of the best things that Ray Peat ever did for the world before he passed away was he tried to impart several things to us. One being, these are different systems in our body, these are how they interact, and this is how different nutritional or environmental insults can affect those systems. He didn't give us a set of rules. He didn't give us a diet. And you're going to hear a lot of people say, this is the pro-metabolic diet, or this is the bioenergetic diet. That's completely missing the point. There is no bioenergetic diet. There is no pro-metabolic diet. There is no bioenergetic protocol. Instead, what we have is thinking about things for ourselves, thinking about how things interact with us and how we interact with them, and does that give us the response we want? It's a basic way of thinking. The only diet, and this was something that Ray Peat was posed the question several times, the only diet that he would ever consider recommending was perceive, think, and act. It's the only protocol he would ever advise. Perceive your options, perceive your situation, think about it, and then make a decision and act on it, and then start it over again. He basically gave us a nutritional OODA loop. For those that aren't familiar with an OODA loop, it's a term used from the Korean War. Fighter pilot named Colonel John Boyd came up with this model of observe, orient, decide, and act. And it's essentially neurological processing. You take in information, You process it, you make a decision about that information, and then you act on it, and then the loop starts over. That's a big oversimplification of Boyd's work. It's a big oversimplification of Ray Peat's work, but the end result is the same. You're changing your choices, you're changing your perceptions, you're changing your thought process based on your individual situation. So if the goal is to really truly regain your health, if the goal is to truly feel better, we want to try and stay away from some of those protocols when necessary, or at least as much as possible, and get back to the basic interaction with our choices and the outputs that they create. I don't want to get into that trap of, if I follow this diet, everyone says it's good for me, therefore I too will feel good. I did that. I did that for years with paleo and keto and fasting and low carb and cold thermogenesis and high fish oil diets from Jack Kruse and all these other people. I felt terrible. I didn't get better. I got worse. But because everyone that I was listening to and everyone that I was following and everyone that I was reading, everything they wrote, kept saying the same thing. This is great. This is fantastic. Sugar is bad. All of these things. I thought I was going to get better. And when I didn't, I kept going because I was following the protocol. I wasn't thinking about myself. So the biggest thing I could ever impart on you, and this is again that idea perpetuated by Ray Peat, you need to think for yourself about how you respond to your environment, how you respond to your food, how you respond to your training, how you respond to your nutrition, your supplementation. All of that is an experience you need to be present for. And it takes more effort. It takes more thought process. It takes more mental bandwidth to do that. But the end result is that you harness a set of tools. You harness a capacity to think differently, think for yourself, and most importantly, you can become your own pro-metabolic master, your own bioenergetic black belt, if you will. There's lots of things you can try. There's lots of things that can impact your health. Lots of neurological work, lots of breath work, lots of food choices, lots of supplementation choices. There's a lot of things you can do that can make you better. But in the wrong context, following that rule, following that protocol, those very good things for somebody else could actually hold you back. So if there's any protocol to follow, it's perceive, think, and act. Think about what your situation entails. Make choices based on that. Perceive how those choices affect you. Think about your next course of action, and so on and so forth. That's it for today. This is a heavy conversation. This is a heavy topic. Definitely one I want you to think about. Definitely one I want you to meditate on and kind of stew on for a little bit. Because the power of this is that it puts the permission back in your hands to make decisions for yourself. You might need guidance with that. You might need some direction. That's fine. There's lots of ways to do that. I teach a group that I cover all of those things for people. I have lots of online coaching clients that I work with for that very reason. You don't even need to work with me. You just need to perceive, think, and act. But if you need that direction, let me know. All that's to say, get away from the protocols. Be present with yourself. Interact with your world. Interact with your choices. And then go forth from there. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for watching. Take care.